What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. I'm hoping that can be a little ray of light to pick ourselves up as a nation, as we did see England get knocked out of the World Cup on the Saturday. But I am here to talk about what has happened in the Championship, because we've had our first full round of the Championship take place for the first time in over a month, which should make things really interesting to dive back in. Some teams starting much better than some other certain teams as well. For the Prediction League, I have not finished totting it up yet as of recording, but make sure you keep your eyes on my community tab, because I will be giving you an update of what the Prediction League looks like. And to make sure you don't miss anything that I do, please smash that like button, as that really does help the support of the channel, and hitting that subscribe button will mean that you are constantly supporting the channel, and hitting that bell icon too means you don't miss a single one of my updates. Doing all of that will be terrifically appreciative if you can. But without any further ado, let's start diving in about what on earth has happened in this weekend's games. So let's start off with Blackburn versus Preston. It has ended 4-1 to Preston. They are going to be the happier team in the snowy Lancashire derby that we saw. And funny enough, it's actually snowing outside right now. So very apt that I'm talking about this snowy tie when it's actually currently snowing as of recording this video. It was a very snowy and wonderful performance by Preston North End indeed. They looked really fresh and they looked like that they were having steer determination. But Blackburn, on the other hand, looking very, very frozen, no pun intended. They really did not look like that they knew what they were doing in a defensive point of view. Ben Woodburn with the opening goal, the amount of space that Ben Woodburn had to compose the ball and to even strike the shot, I would argue, why is no one closing him down? Ched Evans made it 2-0, and it was just continuous problems at the back between the goalkeeper and the defender. So a little bit of confusion there leading to that one there. Bradley Dack managed to get a goal back for Blackburn very early on in the second half, and I thought, okay, Blackburn are now entering this game. It was a rare bit of quality we saw from this Blackburn side, and actually making a run in the right hand side as well to cause that goal as well. So it was one of the rare few times that a couple of players in that Blackburn squad actually gambled and went for something, and I think that's what really was lacking, just a lack of being brave. And I think Preston were just more confident and just way more up for this game, and that will be the most disappointing thing for Blackburn, and especially John Dale Thomason. You had two further goals, you had one for Whiteman and you had a second from Ched Evans to make it 4-1. It's a great win for Preston. You can see in the Championship now, they are in the top 6 as it stands as well. So we've not seen Preston often up there within the top 6 places, but when you consider the distance between them and the team they played against, Blackburn Rovers, they are only 2 points behind them with the same amount of games being played as well. But it does give you some nerves for Blackburn, who had that brilliant home record, that brilliant start. But this heavy 4-1 defeat at home is a big wake-up call for me, that if Blackburn do not sort themselves out now in the next couple of games, I think Blackburn will start to drop down the table, and pretty uncontrollably at this rate as well, if they don't sort out their performances. We're going through the earlier kickoffs now. So Rotherham and Bristol City ended as a 3-1 victory to Bristol City, and that came at a really nice time for them. I think they'll be hoping that they can start having a win streak now. As you can see, they had 3 draws in their last 4, but now they've turned that draw into a win as well. And Rotherham were definitely competing in that game. I know 3-1 seems like a pretty comfortable scoreline for Bristol City, but I don't think Rotherham made it straightforward for them. This was a brilliant victory for Bristol City. Rotherham down in 17th place, but they still have got a decent amount of breathing space there. But just to be very wary, you know, they are a good couple of places above the bottom 3, but the gap is only 3 points. And of course, West Brom have got to play tonight. Actually, they've got to play against Sunderland. If they win that, they match Rotherham and the points. So Rotherham just got to be a tiny bit wary that they're not out of the conversation of being in the relegation battle. I definitely think they are aware of that, but they definitely need to make sure that they do not start to sit back and they take all of these negative results. They need to try and regroup, which they have been able to do decently well compared to other seasons that I've seen for Rotherham so far. Great win for Bristol City. It's now a question, is this going to be a start of a really good streak and people starting to get optimistic of Bristol City again? Or is it going to be back to square one where we just see a streaky Bristol City? You just never know with this squad, because they're definitely capable of so much. You can see it in that performance there. Reading responded very well. They got back to winning ways by beating Coventry by 1-0. Coventry, the informed team of the Championship before the World Cup hit. But obviously issues arising them off the pitch, and obviously some really heavy transfer links with their players as well has definitely got them in a really difficult headspace for practically everyone involved in that Coventry team. And I gotta say, I actually felt a draw would have been fairest. You can see from the attack momentum that they favoured Coventry quite a fair bit when you look at stats. And oh, this is cool, I've never seen that before. This is actually my live reaction. That you can definitely tell based on my reaction that SofaScore has actually changed their graphic. I want to look at that again. That looks really cool. Look at this. So you can actually look at an individual player and how they're done. Oh, I'm breaking out of professional mode here. This is really cool. Okay, I might use this in the future. Anyway, if we're going to go by the stats, 60% to 40% in Coventry's way for possession, 15 shots to 9, but 4 shots on target to 3. So the shots on target and the quality of the chances is definitely something that I think Coventry will be disappointed that they didn't edge out a little bit more. And I definitely would see with them hitting the woodwork there, that was very unlucky on their part. Hamer had a free kick which had a whisker wide. Then we also saw Callum O'Hare having a decent shot as well, which was very well saved by Lumley. I thought Lumley actually put in a pretty decent performance in goal, actually. Give him credit, and sometimes he is memed with some of the mistakes that he makes, but you've got to give him credit. 5 saves is no joke. He did a really good job, actually. And I do think Coventry just lost out in just a spell that Reading was starting to get some quality chances in. It was from a set piece as well, and the defending on that set piece from that corner was not great on Coventry's part. Reading were alert. They made sure every set piece that Coventry had, they defended, but Coventry did not have that same urgency. Probably that tiny bit of arrogance, thinking that, you know, we shouldn't have to work so hard to get, you know, defend Reading out, you know, and I think definitely being switched off in that moment there really did cost them, unfortunately for them. Reading still, look at that, you know, with that win, it's technically 2 wins in a row, but a long gap between those 2 wins, and Reading just about maintaining that conversation, being in the top 6. They're only 2 points off it at the moment, and I definitely think with the expectation of Reading, you know, they'll be taking, you know, a really decent championship finish as a position that doesn't involve relegation, because a lot of people, including myself, predicted Reading to go down, and it doesn't look like that they will be going down anytime soon, which is fantastic news for Reading at the moment. Coventry, I mean, you saw here, it's their first defeat in quite some time, but with their brilliant form recently, they have given themselves much more breathing space than what Rotherham have got as well. They've got a 6-point gap from the bottom 3 now. And I definitely think with Coventry, they've got to be quite careful with their expectations. They definitely need to feel, okay, if we are going to ride this momentum, can we go top 6? If they decide to plateau and they lower their expectations, the Championship is such a ruthless league of a marathon that you can basically write off a couple of games and then immediately you then, you know, dragged right into the back of relegation conversations. So Coventry got to be very mindful, but they have got a very experienced manager and squad to maintain that. So I don't have too many worries for Coventry. I think on another day, they definitely would have earned at least a point, which is a 1-1 draw, which was exactly what I predicted. So a little bit gutting on my part, but a great win for Reading. It was very well earned. Now we go to the normal kick-off time. So let's start off with Blackpool and Birmingham. It ended as a 0-0 draw. Not much for me to break down based on what I saw within the highlights. It actually was a decent game for what I'm suggesting. I definitely think the second half was atrocious. The second half, we barely had anything. It was that first half where we actually saw a little bit of controversy and some really big moments in that game as well. It was Garber who had the first big chance for Blackpool, hitting a shot from quite a bit fair distance but hitting the side netting. But it was Birmingham for me that squandered two big chances for me. So one of them was Mark Roberts. So if you're a Birmingham fan, you'll probably know which chance I'm referring to. Ball goes in by Trusty, and Roberts from 2 yards out has the chance to make it 1-0 and blazes the ball over the goal. He really should be doing better from there. Despite him not being an attacker or a defender, you've got to at least hit the ball on target from 2 yards out. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. I would be annoyed at myself if I did something like that, and I'm not a professional footballer, so I think it just speaks the volumes. That is a dreadful miss by Roberts there. And the other big chance, which I think is a little bit more unlucky, it was brilliant play by Mabry and Chong, with that Manchester United connection clearly working very, very well. It was a great through ball by Mabry and great on this part to win the ball back from midfield as well. That midfield battle there, Birmingham are winning it constantly, and that is why they're picking up results. And it's all due to the really good work that Mabry has done. He pulls in a great through ball to find Tahith Chong, his United teammate. He manages to do everything right apart from hit the ball on target. It goes and hits against the post, which is very unlucky as well. And Birmingham also did have a goal disallowed as well from offside as well. I don't think the build-up of the goal was offside, but I think it's because when the shot was taken, I think a player in an offside position obstructed the goalkeeper, which is why I think offside was given. But very, very harsh decision on Birmingham's part, because if it wasn't for that, I would be not surprised if they walked away with all 3 points, because Blackpool, for me, apart from a tiny few spells in that first half, offered nothing. And that concerns me, to be honest, because Blackpool, you can see in the table, are almost starting to cement their place in as bottom 3, which is very dangerous at this stage of the season. They need to really start picking things up. And considering the turnover of managers we're getting in the Championship, you know, I would be very scared if I was Michael Abberton right now. They definitely do not want to go down Blackpool, and they've missed a big opportunity to potentially get someone in, or a certain someone in, to go back to Blackpool. And I'll talk about what I mean about that in a minute. But it's a draw. It ends their poor run of having 4 defeats in a row, so they'll be pleased with that. With Birmingham still in a mid-table position, and likewise with Reading, defying all the odds and doing very, very well. So fair play to Birmingham there. Probably just a little bit unlucky on this game today. Is Michael Carrick the answer to get Middlesbrough into those top 6 places? Well, in terms of first expectations go, he's doing a really good job. You can see this form there. 4 wins in their last 5 games. Middlesbrough looking like they've picked up where they've left off. They've overtaken, actually, their opponents, Luton Town, which was their first game with Rob Edwards in charge. And I definitely think Rob Edwards has got potential. You know, you can see from the momentum that it was Middlesbrough. But if we do put the statistics there, God, look at the touches that Matt Crooks had in the penalty box. But you can see 17 shots to 3, 3 shots to 1. So actually, you can see with only 3 shots on target and 17 shots in the game, I still have worries of Middlesbrough not being clinical. And you can see that Luton scored their only shot on target. But considering this Luton side with the attacking players that they've got, to only have 1 shot on target, I know it's against Middlesbrough who've improved, I would expect Luton, if they were to try and get into that top part of the table, to do better than that. And that's the danger of Luton. They've now got all these expectations, being a top 16 last season, and they have definitely improved their squad as well. But it's now going to be very interesting, now losing their manager who made those signings in the summer window. Now Rob Edwards has now got to try and get the best of what essentially is not his squad either. So this will definitely be a very interesting couple of games for Luton there. But in terms of detailing the goals going in, Jordan Clark got the first one. It was an outrageous goal, a solo goal, good dribbling past in this part, and an even better strike as well. Brilliant work on his part. But Middlesbrough do respond very quickly. In fact, 5 minutes later, Ryan Giles left-hand side, brilliant cross, headed by Appoint, makes it 1-1. And the game did feel really tight. You know, it felt very much that Luton was sucking the pressure from Middlesbrough and they were growing frustrated. But Amari Bell with 1 yellow card too many, definitely very avoidable red card in the end. And obviously having the man advantage really did help. And in the 91st minute of stoppage time, Matt Crooks makes it 2-1. He missed a golden opportunity just minutes before this as well, but he was a substitute, as you can see, in the 83rd minute, and to score within 10 minutes of coming on is definitely the definition of an impact sub. So fair play to Matt Crooks. He's come in clutch, and he's not really actually delivered those clutch moments often this season. So fair play to Matt Crooks in delivering with that. I think definitely Luton have got a lot of work to do, but I'm definitely not going to be too harsh on Luton, as I'm keeping in mind that, they've got to basically try and gel with a new philosophy going in, and Rob Edwards is essentially not dealing with his squad so far. But for Middlesbrough, we'll see how long this is last. I definitely think performances have been better from them in the past, but I think they're definitely going the right way. They're now finding wins within their performances, which I think is very encouraging. This game between Millwall and Wigan ended as a 1-1 draw. It is Kolo Touré's first game as manager of Wigan Athletic, and he's picked up a point. The goals going in were very different in quality. So the first goal came to Wigan with Will Keane getting the goal. A bit of a fortunate goal, if I got to be honest, looking at the replay. A shot came in by Keane, took a couple of deflections, falls conveniently back to Lang, who gives it back to Keane. And because Long already dived off our initial deflected effort, it left him with a huge amount of space to shoot into an empty net to make it 1-0 Wigan. But I'm telling you this Zion Fleming equaliser, oh my god, was it special. So it just started off with some great play on the left-hand side. The ball gets hooked in. Tom Bradshaw with a chest, and Zion Fleming whacks a volley right in the bottom corner. He is the creative player now for Millwall, and has stepped into that role that Jed Wallace has done incredibly well. He's really definitely been Millwall's best performer this season. And if Millwall don't get the opportunity to actually go places with this performances from Zion Fleming, I think they're missing out on some great potential there. It's a good point for Wigan. I definitely feel that in this game, you would arguably say, based on the stats, that Millwall did a better job there. But it's a professional performance by this Wigan team, and if they are able to get points with them not being able to be in the game that much, it's a good sign for them there. Right now, a point may not be enough to get them out of the bottom three, especially if West Brom managed to win their game against Sunderland tonight. But it is a step in the right direction, and I definitely feel the only really thing I'll be concerned is if they keep drawing and they don't win enough. But obviously, this is only the first game with Kolo Touré, so I can't really judge it off of that at the moment. But with Millwall, it's 2 games since resuming and no wins. So Millwall definitely got to try and find the solution to why they're not winning at the moment, and to really try and respond, because Millwall are still right up there. They're 7th place, and they've definitely thrown it away a little bit. They were very, very comfortably within the top 6, but now they've got a little bit of catching up to do. Sheffield United and Huddersfield ended as a 1-0 victory to Sheffield United in this Yorkshire derby. The only goal coming in by Billy Sharp, and Iliman Ndiaye, who was involved with Senegal in the World Cup, already gets an assist within 15 minutes of his championship return. It was a brilliant through ball actually to find Billy Sharp, and Billy Sharp makes no mistake dinking the ball over the goalkeeper to make it 1-0 Sheffield United. And for what I saw in this game, Sheffield United continued to probe forward within that first half at least, and Huddersfield definitely relied on a lot of good defending by Michael Healig, who I think I'll give him a shout out, because I think he was the best defender at least on the pitch, and potentially even the best player on the pitch actually, based on how important he was at times. Huddersfield did improve in the final stages of the second half, but by that time, Sheffield United, with that experience that they had to see games through, just ultimately frustrated Huddersfield, and they just did not have enough within them. And unfortunately, even with that, I think Fotheringham only really needed to make one decent save, and you could see with the points there, look at that, they are 6 points behind Wigan, who are 21st. I'm getting a little bit worried now about this Huddersfield team. They're definitely going to have to try and improve on some consistency and pick up their next win ASAP. Otherwise, with the competitiveness of this season, Huddersfield are going to get left behind if they're not careful. Sheffield United, with this win, stay 2nd place. But I think they've got to be a little bit careful about how they've managed the game. Obviously, in that second half, they were able to retreat a little bit, and they had to defend quite manically at times. And I think against a team like Huddersfield, who don't really have great clinical ability at the moment and not a great deal amount of confidence, Sheff Utd got to make sure that they're careful that they don't do that one too many times against decent teams with very clinical players. What a game we had at the Bet365 Stadium between Stoke and Cardiff. It ended as a 2-2 draw. I predicted a 1-1 draw originally, so I was kind of in the right ballpark within this one, I would like to dare say with that. So the goals came in, I mean, they started like right in the beginning, and we had 2 goals in the opening 10 minutes. Ryan Wintle scoring first for Cardiff, and Tyrese Campbell, poor defending on Cardiff's part for Campbell's goal with him not being closed down, but brilliant composure on his part to make it 1-1. And then Liam Delap managing to get finally a goal, and it was a bit fortunate as well. Tyrese Campbell involved again, a deflection falling right into Liam Delap, just simply has to hit the ball and target, and it was a goal, and he did, so that made it 2-1. Then it got to half time with it being 2-1. But in that second half, clearly whatever Mark Hudson said to that Cardiff team, they really listened, and they looked really good in that second half. And they eventually got their equaliser with a little bit of pressure. Stoke not really managing them particularly well at all when they were in the back foot. Callum Robinson with the goal to make it 2-2. And after that equaliser, Cardiff kept going. And I've got to say, fair play to their character. They've been bogged down, taking the lead early on, been going 2-1 down into half time. And then they ended that game looking like that they were a completely different side, and actually quite unlucky not to get anything out of this game other than a point. So fair play to Cardiff. They've definitely got some good quality players and some good attitudes there. But I worry for both of their positions. They're both on 26 and 25 points respectively, and you can definitely see them drop down a couple of places if West Brom win tonight. That's going to be my repeated phrase, if West Brom win tonight. And no, my luck, I've just jinxed West Brom with the amount of times I've said that. But it's so tight in that bottom part of the table, and definitely with the performances I've seen from these two teams, it would definitely feel like a travesty if any of them go down based on what they can offer on their day. Now to a score prediction I got spot on alongside in the Middlesbrough and Luton game, which was Swansea 0, Norwich 1. It was a game that only occurred with 1 goal, and it was a very early goal by Teemu Pukki. It was practically the first major chance of the game. You know, a cross goes in, and the defending was non-existent. You know, the ball just floated in, and Swansea could have headed away a good amount of times, but Pukki was just left on his own, and all he had to do was just simply tap the ball on target, and it was just as easy as that. There were chances for both teams to extend their leads or to even get a goal. I think Carl Norton had a huge chance, which I think he could have done a tiny bit better with. But Gunn in goal actually did a very decent job in that position there. Sargent had some great chances as well. He had a great opportunity where he pressed a very poor pass from the Swansea midfielder, and he ran forward, but just a lack of composure, I guess, just a lack of having that match sharpness still. But overall, it's a good response by this Norwich team, and you can see with the attack momentum that Swansea had more of it, really. You know, you can see with the chances 17 shots to 5 and 7 shots on target to 2. So it's another one of these performances from Swansea where they exude a lot, they create a lot. But looking at the highlights, I didn't see too much that troubled Gunn too much. There was a couple of really good saves, but other than that, I think they're just using so much energy, but they're not creating the best out of it. And I am always very nervy with Swansea because you clearly can see what they're trying to do, and I'm very pro of what their type of football is. But also there's always the downside that is it going to be a bit predictable by the way they play? They've got to try and switch it up for me. If I was managing a team, I'd want versatility to play direct or to play a little bit tiki-taka, honestly. It doesn't sound like a great combination, but you need to be versatile. Every team is different. Every team has different strengths and weaknesses, and you need to expose those when you are playing game by game, and just manage your squad based on what you've got in front of you in this specific moment in time. And definitely learning that is going to be very crucial for Swansea as they move on. Norwich is a great win for them. They're back to 4th and definitely within touching distance of getting into those top 3 places. But they've got quite a gap between them and Sheff Utd, as you can see. So it's going to be very difficult for them. But I have every faith that if they can get some consistency, they will start catching up with the top 2. Let's finally end with yesterday's games. And QPR, where do we begin with them? It was not a great performance for QPR whatsoever. as they lose 3-0 to Burnley. And off the pitch, they needed to really respond, and they have responded, which I'll talk about in a minute. But 2 goals came in for Burnley in that first half. John Goodmanson with a free kick. A bit of controversy with the validity of that free kick, with his positioning and whether it should have been given there. Don't get me wrong, it's a really, really nice strike by Goodmanson, right nestling in that side netting to make it 1-0 to Burnley. The second goal is the one that hurts me the most as a neutral fan. So it was a terrific save by Dieng to even deny the first big opportunity that Burnley had to try and get something in the end of that first half. But the defenders just did not react to Ian Maatsen. Ian Maatsen, by the way, does really well to actually get control of the ball after being pushed away at such pace, and to smash in that rebound right in an unstoppable way is incredible. Ian Maatsen is a very talented player, don't get me wrong, but the defending is very, very poor on their part there. And I'm saying that's the most painful goal I saw. In fact, I'm going to take that back because I just remembered what the third goal was. And it's just a bad day in the office by Jimmy Dunn, isn't it? You might as well call him Father Christmas, because he gifted Burnley that third goal. Just a poor bit of misjudgment for Jimmy Dunn trying to win a dead ball. Nathan Taylor capitalises, gets around him and scores in an empty net to make it 3-0 Burnley. So bad day in the office for Dunn and co. But QPR have got some news that has just broken to me, and it will be old news for you guys when you see this video. And this is the news that I was referring to at the start of the video. This would be old news for you guys now seeing this, but as you can see, it only broke like within less than an hour ago for me, that Neil Critchley is the brand new manager for QPR. Let's actually click into this link and see what they have to say on their website. Neil Critchley has been appointed by QPR as their new head coach, agreeing on a 3.5-year deal at Loftus Road. Critchley was most recently at Aston Villa as assistant head coach to Steven Gerrard, which followed a successful 2-year spell as manager of Blackpool. During the time of the Tangerines, Critchley won promotion to the Championship and successfully achieved safety in the second tier in their last season. Highly respected coach, Critchley demonstrated an early love of the tactical side. His success at Anfield at under 18, under 19 and under 23 level led to the first foray of management at Bloomfield Road. That's right, Blackpool was his very first job that he managed to do there. QPR chairman said, "We are absolutely delighted to bring Neil back. Following the abrupt departure of Mick Beale, it is important that we made a swift appointment, but also that we took the necessary steps to make sure it's the correct appointment. In announcing Neil today, we have achieved that." Critchley will be joined at Loftus Road by Mike Garrity, who lists his role as assistant head coach at Lincoln City, and Ian Brunskill, who was previously Critchley's assistant head coach at Blackpool. So we've got a bit of a very unique management team going in, picking and choosing from previous clubs there. So that should be a very interesting development in that season there. I'm just going to be very intrigued to see how quickly QPR respond with the abrupt style differences between Mick Beale and, of course, Neil Critchley there. But definitely, I feel for me as a manager, very safe pair of hands. What I only fear is potentially expectations is going to be very high for Neil Critchley to try and get the best of that QPR squad. They definitely had built in those expectations at the start of the season, or how they started to get into the top 6. It's going to be very daunting for them, for Critchley to overturn that. But with every confidence and how well he did do at Blackpool, I've got every faith that he will be able to deliver his job. So overall, I definitely think QPR will be feeling a little bit more optimistic now they've got that appointment out the way, and now they could take away this defeat with a small pinch of salt, and they'll be hoping that next weekend that they can start their season again. Burnley, of course, without win, sees them on 44 points. they are looking up that they're going to be unstoppable in the Championship this season. I must completely apologise to Watford and Hull City fans. I have completely forgotten to talk about this game. It's about 3 hours after I did the original recording, but I'll briefly go through my reaction to this game here. I mean, it was a 0-0 draw, so probably not too much of a surprise, to be honest, for the fact that I did indeed forget about talking about this game. For what I saw in the highlight reel, for what I recall, Hull did okay in spells. Watford, for me, were definitely not good enough in that first half. That first half, for me, they barely threatened. The second half, after Hull actually started off in that second half in the first 5-10 minutes, it was practically all Watford going forward. João Pedro forced a couple of brilliant saves by Ingram. Ingram was definitely one of the man of the match to me. But Ray Minai, as the commentator called it, I like to call him Ray Minaj, but if it's Ray Minai, I guess I'll go with that. You tell me which one you prefer. But he missed a really big chance at the end, 2 yards out as well, a little bit similar to the proximity for how close Roberts was for Birmingham. So a lot of big players missing some really big chances in this Championship weekend. But this draw for Watford, I don't really think much about it. It gives them 1 point safer to get into that top 6. They're just going to make sure that they do not have those games where they have a missed opportunity to not pick up all 3 points. For Hull, they're just about still above the bottom 3. It's going to be very, very interesting to me to see if Liam Rosenior can definitely kick on with his whole team, because they are a team for me which I think they'll be too good to go down if they do find themselves in that position. So, as I've got the table out, let's actually talk about the current Championship table before West Brom have to play against Sunderland. So, Burnley, Sheff Utd, top 2. And with a 5-point gap between them and Blackburn as well, looking very comfortably in that top 2 race there. Norwich, Watford and Preston are the other teams that join Blackburn in that top 6 conversation. But the teams in danger, you practically include everyone down from Rotherham, and with the bottom 3, Huddersfield adrift a bit, Blackpool a little bit down, and West Brom also 22nd. But obviously with that good form that they've had, and they've still got a game to play tonight, that could all change. So guys, that will wrap it up, I feel, today for my Championship review. If you guys enjoyed this content and you found it a little bit insightful, that's amazing for me to hear. Please make sure you do smash the video a like. It really does help the growth of this channel. Leave a comment as well to tell me your thoughts of England going out of the tournament, of the World Cup, and tell me of your thoughts of this weekend as well. Leaving a comment also really helps. Please hit the subscribe button. Share the channel as well, because that also helps as well. We're nearly at 1,550 subs. So I've got to say thank you guys so much for the continued support for the channel. Despite me being away for a while, you guys are still being the lifeblood of this channel, and I've got to owe it to you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for the end of this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.